Okay, I just got done watching Cyberpunk Endgame on Netflix, and oh man, it's wild. It's made by Studio Trigger, so it looks really nice, right? Super nice. Good fluid animation. But it is an anime based off of the Cyberpunk 2077 game. And while I was watching it, right, full disclosure, I didn't play Cyberpunk 2077 for no other reason than I watched other people play it and it looked super janky, and I couldn't handle it. That's more of a me thing and less of the game thing. But the more I was watching the anime Cyberpunk and listening to other people talk about it, I realized something. And what I realized was Cyberpunk is less about the establishment and the disproportionate amount of money between the haves and the have-nots, and it's more, like, when you really, really boil it down, right? All the way boil it down, Cyberpunk anything, even games, right? I'm talking like old games, even older anime like Ghost in the Shell. What it boils down to is how much of your humanity are you willing to lose to become essentially a robot. And when you are 100% machine, it then begs the question, were you ever really human to begin with, or did you fabricate everything to believe that you were a person? And I say this is because in the, I'm talking like the OG Ghost in the Shell, that is something that is brought up a lot, is if I replace all of me, right, every last inch of me, even parts of my brain, from being human to machine, and then I lose my memories of ever being human, did I imagine being human to begin with? It's to the point that in the Ghost in the Shell anime specifically, people literally have their minds hacked, and they're given false memories of lives they've never even lived. Now, in the Cyberpunk 2077 games, thanks Keanu Reeves, you look good in any format, I'm super jelly about it. In that game, you, the main character, whether you play guy or girl, you're given Keanu Reeves, right, as a memory of a man who died trying to take down the establishment. Which again, right, that's not how being human works. We can't have random memories of different people and their experiences downloaded into our brains that we can legitimately live their life as though it's ours. Like, that's VR, right? We're creeping closer and closer to the part of actual cybernetic enhancements. And it's getting to the point where it kind of boggles my mind that this is where we're leaning. Because the punk genre, right? Steampunk, dieselpunk, cyberpunk. The punk genre of talking about social political issues through this lens of basically different world, same stuff you kind of know. It's beginning to look more like it's not fiction anymore. And it's not fiction is because the more that we strive towards technology and enhancing the technology we already have, the more we're begging the question of human bodies fail. So why not replace it with something that won't fail? But also, the cyberpunk genre has answered that of, yes, you can replace your cybernetics anytime you want to, right? No question asked. But somebody who's really good at hacking or coding can take your autonomy away from you in a flash. It begs the question of, well, if you're the only normal person left in a world of cybernetics, are you actually the last human being alive, even though everybody around you is human? All I can think of, right, is that scene from WandaVision. And if you haven't seen it, it's actually really good. Please go watch WandaVision. But we're not talking about WandaVision. It's just this one very specific scene in WandaVision that kind of sums up my thought process really well.
You are familiar with the thought experiment, the ship of Theseus in the field of identity metaphysics?
Naturally. The ship of Theseus is an artifact in a museum. Over time, its planks of wood rot and are replaced with new planks. When no original plank remains, is it still the ship of Theseus?
Secondly, if those removed planks are restored and reassembled free of the rot, is that the ship of Theseus?
Neither is the true ship. Both are the true ship.
that whole entire exchange between, well, the visions is, in essence, what I'm talking about. Are you still human if you become a robot, even though everything can be replaced, but are you still the original, even if nothing gets replaced, or if it's just modified? The answer is yes, but also no, which is why I thought it was a really interesting thought process. And here's the part, right, where I know I'm gonna sound like I'm a really wishy-washy kind of a person, but it does. It's been bothering me. And I don't mean to say it's been bothering me like, oh, this has made me so incredibly upset I have to make a 2.5 rant video about this. First of all, I can't do anything for 2.5 hours. Like, that sounds like way too much of my free time and yours that is gonna be wasted, and on top of it, that's just not something I wanna do. So, this is just this isn't even a defense or an opposition of. This is just a thoughts on video. This is a real deep dive into just the thoughts on. Because, well, it's bothering me. Is because I've seen... Okay. I have seen a lot of people sit there and explain to me why the cyberpunk genre really speaks to them. And I'm glad it really speaks to you. I have also seen people tell me that steampunk really speaks to them. Also, in case it's, like, not something you've heard of, dieselpunk is the Fallout series, right? 1950s Americana, blah blah blah. That's dieselpunk. I can talk. Dieselpunk appeals to a lot of people. But I'm just saying that specifically for this, it bothers me on an intrinsic level that so many people are so okay with the thought process of, yeah, let me just replace all my body parts with machinery stuff. And I know personally why I wouldn't want to do it, right? This is just because it's a thoughts on video, it's a lot of personal feelings. I personally would not want to become cybernetic at all. And it's because of my multiple sclerosis. Because in the event of, yes, you've replaced every little bit of me with machinery, but what if my sickness doesn't go away just because you made me into a machine? What if my sickness adapts with me and I'm still in the same boat as when I left my human body? Now, I did talk to my editor about this, right? We got into a real soul-searching 3.5 hour conversation about cyberpunk stuff, and my editor made a really good point. If your sickness is to the point where it is just you, because he knows about multiple sclerosis, knows I bitch about it so much, he's like, since it is technically your immune system, wouldn't it make more sense for them to just build you a body and then just mind transfer all of your memories into a new body that's never had it before? And I'm gonna let you know right now, that scared me more than anything else. Because what if you fuck up, right? What if you fuck up my mind transfer and I forget things that are really super duper important to me? I would be more mad than anything in the world because my sickness has now cost me precious memories I will never get back because they're stuck in a body that you guys are in the middle of cremating. Like, that's super fucked up. But, side note to all of this, he did bring up the fact of, well, what if you get all of them transferred, right? He was looking at best case scenario. And I'll give him this. Best case scenario, if they could do that, that sounds dope. But that is best case scenario, and considering how so much of the cyberpunk is written and, like, explained it to people, I wouldn't bet my bottom $20 they would do it right. Just they won't. So, my thoughts on this just the cyberpunk genre in general. I understand why people really connect with the cyberpunk genre, is because we're going as a society in real time down this route of you either have money or you don't. There is no in-between anymore, and if you're in the in-between, you're super duper lucky. But, counterpoint to this, it makes me wonder, it's like, we've literally written our future to be this dark, demented, horrendously tacky neon nightmare. Why can't we see that that's the writing we put on the wall and decide, you know what this needs? This needs to be scrubbed down, a new coat of paint, maybe a tasteful painting and like some nice pictures. Why can't we decide that that's the way we want to go? Because, granted, I understand why you want your very tacky, grungy, downtown neon atmosphere, but at the same time, aren't you tired of that? Don't you want a future that sounds a little bit cool without all of the horrible stuff that goes with it? And before somebody sits there and tells me, well, you can't have a future that's bright and bubbly, that's not realistic. Why? Explain to me why. Because at this rate, you can't explain to me why I can't imagine a future where we finally, right? I like to call it the Star Trek future. Humans finally get over all their melodrama with each other and start working together. Human beings in a group are the most terrifying yet effective things in the world. We can topple entire tanks if we put our mind to it. There's even video images of that. Tanks. The big boys. That's what you use to take down buildings. Cars. Human beings in a group can move those. They can push them over because we have deemed that together we can. So why not go for the Star Trek timeline? We finally get over all of the insistent, unnecessary melodrama that has just choked entire generations into unnecessary wars. Because people disagree on everything. There is nobody that will sit there and just concede 1,000% of the time. I'm not asking people to concede, I'm asking people to consider. Two totally different words. Maybe I'm just a bleeding heart, right? Maybe it's me personally. But I would like it if maybe we could finally stop being so damn bitchy to each other. I know that is a tall order. So my thoughts on this cyberpunk just genre in essence. I understand why we really like it as a society, but also I'm just really sick of seeing it. I really am. I feel like we could do a whole lot better to get away from this future we have not only accurately predicted, but are now, for whatever reason, trying to get to. I don't know if I said this, but thank you to the patrons, thank you to the editor, thank you to the lovely viewers. I appreciate you guys very, very much, and I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye-bye.